everybody in the AI industry is shaking because of what they've seen.
A Chinese AI app called DeepSeek is causing an earthquake in the tech world and on Wall Street.
It can produce AI models that are far more efficient than the current state of the art from OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and others. So an order of magnitude more efficient.
More efficient and much cheaper. DeepSeek claims it cost just $5.6 million to develop its AI model.
Even by the most skeptical projections, the most cynical projections, it still cost them a fraction to develop this model than the cost that OpenAI, Google, and others have had. So it is a monumental shift.
And how does DeepSeek compare from a consumer perspective to ChatGPT? Is it essentially the same in terms of its function?
Yes, and it's free. So instead of paying OpenAI $20 a month or Google Gemini $20 a month for their advanced models, you can use DeepSeek, get the exact same level of results for free. The answers will be different because these models all have some random element to them. So you'll get different answers, but the experience that we've had over the last few days and that many are having over the last few days is the answers are just as good.
But when we prompted the app to tell us more about Tiananmen Square, it said it could not answer.
Any software or service that comes out of China is going to be highly restrictive. Again, that's why the actual use of DeepSeek in the App Store or elsewhere directly on a Chinese server, probably not a good idea. Not a good idea for maintaining data privacy. It's at least as bad, if not worse, than TikTok. But that's not what's going on here. What's really going on is that we've had a massive breakthrough in the productivity and efficiency of AI models that's going to be adopted by all the other companies that are developing these frontier AI models.
Do you think of this as a turning point in the global AI arms race? Obviously, the U.S. has been putting export restrictions in place, trying to maintain its leadership position. Does it look like that's changed?
Absolutely. We thought we had a massive lead over China, and turns out we do not. Clearly, this is the U.S. government is going to have to reconsider how its approach to AI.
And big tech will be rethinking its plans as well.
They've embarked on these huge plans for massive data center build-outs. They want to turn on 3 Mile Island and build all these nuclear plants and stretch our energy resources to build bigger and bigger models. Turns out they don't need to. They're going to have to pause and rethink all those build-out plans because it may turn out that they are somewhere between wasteful to foolish.
A blockbuster reveal showing that China could be closing the gap with the U.S. in the development of artificial intelligence. A Chinese startup company called DeepSeek has shown off a striking new development, an AI program called R1, which DeepSeek says has very similar capabilities to ChatGPT, the AI model developed by the American tech giant OpenAI.
It basically was about as good, and in a couple of cases maybe a little bit better, and that's impressive because it's out of nowhere.
But here's the rub. The Chinese company says it only spent $5.6 million training its AI program, compared to the hundreds of millions, and in some cases billions of dollars, that American companies OpenAI, Meta, and Google spent on their AI technologies.
It's about 30 times cheaper than the top U.S. models.
And that news jarred Wall Street. Tech giants like NVIDIA, a top supplier of AI chips, have taken a beating, as did Google's parent company, Alphabet. For those not familiar with AI, models like ChatGPT are programs that can answer almost any question you have, based on having read millions of pages on the internet. George Washington University professor Jeffrey Ding, who's researched China's AI programs for about 8 years, challenged the new Chinese program with about 6 probing questions, similar to the way he challenged OpenAI's ChatGPT. The resulting answers, he said,
the first 3 are about the same as what OpenAI came up with.
We asked Ding a key question.
How has China been able to do this so cheaply and be almost as good, it seems?
Essentially, they've found a way to get better performance without throwing more and more computing resources at the problem, training efficient and smaller models that require less computing power to train.
And China's done this without access to the latest high-tech computer chips, which the U.S. has banned from being exported to China. But one analyst is a bit skeptical, saying we're taking DeepSeek's word for it that it's doing all this much cheaper than its American competitors.
We don't know that that is true. We have not verified it yet. We don't know enough details.
And Lance Ulanoff says there are things American AI programs can do that DeepSeek's R1 can't.
One of the hallmarks of some of the best AIs is that they can do more than just respond to text prompts. Things like Google Gemini, you can have an audio conversation, or you can show it a picture or live video and ask it about it. Now, that's something that DeepSeek R1 cannot yet do.
Professor Jeffrey Ding says one key barometer to watch for in DeepSeek R1's future is what it's used most for, whether it's used primarily as an office assistant and productivity type tool, or possibly for other things like maybe a source of news, in which case he says it could encounter a lot more resistance from entities like the U.S. government. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
DeepSeek and its AI claim has spooked markets and stunned the world, but is it for real? Now, last week, DeepSeek unveiled a generative AI model called R1. It's much like ChatGPT, except the company said that it can operate at a fraction of the cost. Now, according to DeepSeek, it spent only $5.6 million on computing power for the base model. And compare that with U.S. companies like Meta, like OpenAI or Google that have paid hundreds of millions or billions of dollars on their AI technology. Now, DeepSeek's announcement rattled America's tech sector. The tech-heavy NASDAQ lost more than 3%. Shares at NVIDIA fell nearly 17%. But analysts are questioning DeepSeek's claims. In fact, according to Strategy Risks founder Isaac Stonefish, he says this, quote, "How much did it actually cost DeepSeek to train its model? We won't know that until someone has properly audited its claims and the research paper it released." Meanwhile, we've been learning more about the founder of DeepSeek. Now, Liang Wenfeng recently spoke at a symposium hosted by the Chinese premier, Li Qiang. And according to Chinese state-run media, his lab is based in Zhejiang province. It reportedly has a small team of fewer than 10 people. And Liang believes China must shift. It must shift from imitation to originality to build its own high-tech ecosystem. In fact, this is what he says. He says this, quote, "We often say there's a 1 or 2 year gap between China and the U.S., but the real gap is between originality and imitation. If this doesn't change, China will always be a follower," unquote. Liang adds that China cannot be in a follower position forever. Christy Lustow, CNN, Hong Kong.
When you hear somebody come up with something, we always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution. Under the Trump administration, we're going to unleash our tech companies and we're going to dominate the future like never before.